After 3 years of recuperation, he returned to Beijing. There's a woman next to my fiancé who looks 50% like me. At the welcoming banquet, I accidentally soiled the woman's dress. She cried and sobbed. Pei Yanli, who is usually aloof, lost his temper at me for the first time. Lu Shijin, can you please stop being unreasonable? Making trouble? I slapped him with a blank expression. Give you face. Isn't it time to let him see what real unreasonableness looks like?
1.
I stayed in Jiangnan for 3 years to recover from my illness. On the first day after returning to Beijing, my fourth sister held a welcoming banquet for me. All those who attended the banquet were young men and ladies from the capital.
3 years no see.
The noble ladies who used to be on good terms with me were all unusually reserved today, each one as quiet as a chicken. My younger brother, the crown prince, who used to call me imperial sister in a docile manner, also became distant and polite to me. At my welcoming banquet, they served themselves drinks. No one paid any attention to me, until there was a noise at the door. Pei Yanli let a woman in, and the quiet banquet suddenly became lively. My prince brother was the first to stand up and greet him. Brother Pei, Sister Meng, you're finally here. The ladies who had been so quiet and reserved just now also smiled and called out, Wantang, come here. I'll save your place. The woman in the crowd had rosy cheeks and a gentle smile. Pei Yanli beside her also curled the corners of his lips slightly, with a smile in his eyes. There is a warmth between his eyes and brows that I have never seen before. The fourth sister saw that there was a lot of excitement and didn't mind making trouble. She came over and whispered, Sister, did you see that? The substitute succeeded and Bai Yueguang became the vicious female supporting role. If you had come back a few months later, maybe their children would have been able to make soy sauce.
2.
Since she was little, my fourth sister always uttered some new words that I couldn't understand. Thanks to her 3 letters a month. Before I returned to Beijing, I already knew about this concubine's daughter in the prime minister's family, Meng Wantang, who looked 50% like me. I heard that this concubine's daughter of the prime minister's family has been kept in the manor until I left Beijing for recuperation 3 years ago. She was then taken back to Beijing. At first, because of her appearance and dressing style similar to mine. The noble ladies in the capital all secretly laughed at her for being a shrewd imitator. Those young masters from aristocratic families also sneered at her. But gradually, people discovered that I was different from the arrogant and domineering me. She is gentle and considerate. There are many unexpected new ideas. She is making floral soap today. Make delicious food tomorrow. So, the noble ladies who used to surround me started to surround her. My brother, the prince who loves food, also gradually became close to her. Even my fiancé, Pei Yanli, the young master of Huayan Marquis. He also mocked her for imitating others from the beginning and warned her not to act like a princess. It has become what it is today. You are you, not a substitute for anyone. Don't worry, I'm here and won't let anyone bully you. Thanks to my fourth sister. The scenes she recounted were so vivid that it felt as if I had seen them with my own eyes, as if I had never left Beijing. But she looks like me? I raised an eyebrow. I looked at the woman who was nervous and at a loss because of my voice and pulled Pei Yanli's sleeve. I couldn't help but sigh. How can they be alike? Do you have eye problems?
3.
Today I wore red. Meng Wantang was also dressed in red. I wear the latest style of hairpin from Jinquifang on my hair.
So does she.
Indeed, she is a beauty. But even though she was wearing a dress similar to mine and had a similar bun, I also didn't see any resemblance to me in her eyes and features. Because of my words, the field was very quiet. People come here because of the reputation, and their expressions are indescribable. Meng Wantang was the first to come back to his senses. The color on her face gradually faded, and suddenly she fell to her knees with a thump. Your Highness has surrendered the country and the city, and I am just a weakling. How dare I be compared with your Highness? She knelt down. Everyone looked at each other, dissatisfaction written in their eyes. The prince also frowned unhappily. Royal sister, your body and skin are determined by your parents. Sister Meng's appearance was determined at birth. It is not up to her to decide whether she looks like you or not. You can't be angry with her just because you like everything to be unique, right?
Angry?
I feel like laughing. Stupid brother, didn't you hear that I was scolding you? I ordered the prince. His eyes swept over all the people on the field who looked unhappy. I haven't seen you for 3 years. Why is the princess still so moody? I used to think that Miss Meng and the eldest princess looked alike, but now I see that the sickly eldest princess can't compare to Miss Meng. If you ask me, the princess only has that face worth looking at.
What?
Do you think I won't hear you just because you left and whispered about me behind my back? 4. Everyone in Beijing knows that I have a bad temper. My father once advised me that women should be gentle, but I think it is better to let others suffer than to exhaust myself. Therefore, never let yourself suffer any injustice. Looking at the young masters and ladies who were silent as a cicada after their superficial harmony was exposed by me. I'm really not interested. Everyone at my welcoming party was like a bereaved family. 4th sister, thank you for your trouble today. In the future, when there are people like these around, please don't invite me to sit with you. It makes people uncomfortable. Don't want to stay any longer. I stood up slowly and prepared to leave. However, when passing by Meng Wantang, the maid beside her suddenly cried out, "Ouch!" His hand trembled, and the gift box he was holding suddenly fell and hit Meng Wantang. The rouge in the gift box dyed her dress red. The next moment, Pei Yanli's furious voice rang in my ears. "Lu Shijin, what are you doing?" These rouges were made by Wantang herself after working nonstop for several days. If you don't like them, that's fine. But why do you want to waste her kindness? Pei Yanli and I can be considered childhood sweethearts. He has a cold personality and always looks indifferent to everyone. We have known each other for many years. This is the first time I've seen him so angry. At this moment, he closed his eyes were gloomy. Today, everyone is here to welcome you back because you've been away from Beijing for so many years. Why did you make the scene so embarrassing? 3 years have passed, and you are still in this state of temper. How could you? There was a crisp pop sound. Pei Yanli's voice stopped abruptly. There were also sounds of people gasping for air on the field. Pei Yanli widened his eyes in disbelief. It took a lot of effort to find the sound. You hit me? Just hit him. I snorted coldly. Did I give you face? Who do you think you are? How dare you address me by my full name?
5.
I consider myself to have been cultivating my character for 3 years. I am in a good mood today. In the early years, if you heard people talking about you like this behind your back, you would be ignored at the banquet. I'm afraid that I will scold any dog passing by. However, they probably forget that I have had this temper since I was a child. Someone insisted on touching my minefield. Your Highness, it's my fault. I didn't know you didn't like Yanji. If I made you angry, just punish me, but don't anger the prince.
Meng Wantang tried.
Tears fell in large drops. His face was pale and looked pitiful. But the moment she kowtowed and begged for mercy, I clearly saw a fleeting smile at the corner of her lips. Naturally, no one else saw this smile, especially Pei Yanli. His face turned even darker. He seemed to be just getting to know me for the first time. He gritted his teeth and said, "Good. Very good." I didn't know the princess had this kind of personality. The prince also pointed at my nose and said, "Sister, what did Sister Meng do wrong? You are so arrogant. I will tell my father and let him punish you severely." Punish me? I almost laughed out of anger. Go ahead. As a prince, you don't act like a crown prince at all. You keep calling me Sister Meng? Brother Pei. Why don't I take this opportunity to ask my father when I got so many brothers and sisters? I looked at Pei Yanli again. Have you forgotten that you have an engagement with me, Prince? Since you like Miss Meng so much, why don't you ask my father to cancel the engagement so that you can develop a secret love for each other while I'm away, and your love is stronger than gold? And you? Turning my gaze to Meng Wantang, I paused and raised the corners of my lips. What are you laughing at? Do you think I'm some stupid person? Although I have a bad temper, My eyes and ears are very good. I didn't even touch your maid. Why did she fall? If you want to act, at least act more realistically. Don't think that I am a fool like everyone else here.
6.
After I scolded him, the crown prince's face turned ashen and Pei Yanli's expression turned dark. Meng Wantang's face also turned blue and red. Everyone present had an ugly look on their face. But I was used to it, so I just pretended not to see it and rolled my eyes. Don't worry, I won't bother you. I will tell Prime Minister Meng and Marquis Huayan about today's events. No. Tomorrow the palace will play gongs and drums, and have someone set up a stage in front of the palace gate to retell today's scene in full. After saying this, I stopped looking at the sudden changes in everyone's expressions. However, when she turned around to leave, she bumped into the man who came in. The man was tall and unfamiliar. He has a high nose bridge and deep eyebrows and eyes. He is a rare, handsome man. But at that moment, I was feeling uncomfortable, so why would I care whether he was handsome or not? He said, "A good dog doesn't block the road." You don't have eyes?
Get lost.
As soon as he finished speaking, the man's face turned red. A pair of eyes sparkled and suddenly became frighteningly bright. This is the first time I see someone being scolded but not being annoyed. I was slightly stunned. Just as I was feeling surprised, someone pulled my sleeve. Looking sideways, I saw my fourth sister, smiling ingratiatingly. Sister, let me tell you this first. If you scold others, you can't scold me. Also, stop scolding this person. He's different. You seem to enjoy scolding him. 7. Can people feel good when being scolded? This is the first time I've heard of it. But look at the man's reaction. It is indeed different from everyone else present. It feels vaguely familiar to me. I always feel like I've seen it somewhere before. When he met my gaze, the man's body suddenly stiffened and he introduced himself. I am Yi Mingzhou, the deputy commander of the Longshao army. Congratulations on your recovery and return to the capital. His expression was serious, and his voice was as loud as a bell. The movements are impatient. He stuffed the gift box in his hand into my arms and ran away without waiting for me to react. I was still a little confused until I got on the carriage. Yi Mingzhou? Who is this person? The fourth sister is not very clear either. The deputy general who accompanied General Qin back to Beijing last month to report on his duties, I heard that he only joined the army 5 years ago. What kind of place is Longxiang? He climbed to this position in 5 years. This person is not an ordinary person. From her tone, it didn't sound like she was treating the other party to a banquet. I frowned slightly. You don't know him? Ah. Should I get to know him? Look at each other. The fourth sister's eyes were clear and stupid. After a while, she avoided the gaze and swallowed. Sister, don't you want to see what he gave you? She diligently unpacked the exquisite wooden box on the table. The moment I saw the items inside, I suddenly exclaimed, wow. My eyelids twitched slightly, and I couldn't help but curl my lips. This person came uninvited, and the gift he gave was quite interesting. It was a short dagger. The blade is sharp, flashing a faint cold light. The shape is simple, except for the handle, which is inlaid with a translucent blue gemstone. Not bad. It suits my taste.
8.
Although this welcoming banquet was not pleasant, but because of this dagger, I am not depressed. I slept very well that night. He got up early the next day as well. Seeing that it was almost time for court session, he asked someone to bring a stool to the palace gate for him to sit on. My maid calls every time someone comes. Lord Li, your daughter teased our princess at the welcoming banquet yesterday, saying that she has been recovering from an illness for 3 years, but is still a sickly woman. Minister Zhao, your son also scolded our princess at the welcoming banquet yesterday, saying that she has a bad temper and is good for nothing except her face. And Minister Wang. The maids around me have been training in the training ground since they were young. Everyone is in good health and full of energy. So, even though the ministers avoided me when they saw me, these words reached their ears word for word. Today's morning court should be very lively. Because the morning court had just ended, my father sent someone to call me into the palace. Outside Yu's study, the prince was kneeling. When he saw me, he gritted his teeth. His originally aggrieved expression suddenly turned gloomy, and he seemed quite unconvinced. "What are you doing here?" I smiled and said, "I'm not here to plead for you anyway." Probably stimulated by my laughter, he gritted his teeth and said angrily, "What are you so proud of? You are just relying on your father's love for you. You have been pampered since you were a child. Sister Meng has suffered so much in the manor for so many years. When has she ever enjoyed a day? Why do you make things difficult for her as soon as you come back?" He still calls her Sister Meng. There's no hope. I don't want to see this stupid brother's silly face anymore. I walked right past him and pushed open the door to use study. "Father, this prince is useless. Let's depose him."
9.
Behind him, the prince was so angry that he jumped up and down. Inside the room, my father showed little expression. "The prince doesn't know the seriousness of the matter, so why are you also making trouble?" He dismissed the crown prince and the eunuchs and handed the memorial he had just approved to me. I was not surprised to see the words that denounced my domineering behavior and expressed dissatisfaction with me for slapping the son of Marquis Huayan at the welcoming banquet. These censors are well-informed and angry about these minor incidents, but they turned a blind eye and ignored the arms corruption case 3 years ago. That's interesting too. I threw away the memorial and handed the letter in my arms to my father. With every page he turned, my father's face grew more gloomy. After seeing the last part, he became furious. "They actually dared. What are you afraid of?" I took a teacup, poured myself a cup from the teapot, held it in my hand, and took small sips. 4 years ago, the Western Rong army launched a surprise attack, and the Chunyang army was slaughtered overnight, causing the fall of Chunyang City, and no one in the city survived. Back then, it was these ministers who wrote in their memorials that the incident happened suddenly, and our army was unable to react in time. Slow down? What a joke. It's just an excuse for my greed. Holding a pile of broken copper and iron in my hand is no different from hand-to-hand combat. How can I resist the elite soldiers and weapons of the Western Rome? I am indeed not feeling well. But the 3 years of recuperation in Jiangnan were fake. Secretly investigate the true reason why Chunyang City was defeated. This is the petition I took on my own initiative. It was also instructed by my father. Because no one will guard against a flamboyant, sickly person. The Chunyang City case back then was complicated and involved a wide range of people. The prince's maternal family, the chief family, and several ministers in the court were involved. Others just stopped talking. You can keep it and clean it up slowly. How many bad things has the chief family done over the years by relying on the crown prince? The relatives of the emperor are in power and obsessed with money. The crown prince is also a soft-hearted person who does things without distinguishing the importance of things and does whatever he wants. Does your father really want to hand over the Yuan dynasty to him?
10.
My father understands the truth, but he still hesitated, although he is not stupid. But I am indecisive by nature and always weigh things over and over again, especially since the chief family is not only the prince's maternal family, but also his maternal family. This case involves too many things. If the court officials handle it improperly, it will cause unrest in the court and destroy the foundation. Not to mention deposing a country's successor monarch. So, I heard him say, "Let me think about this matter." I'm not surprised. She only asked for the grace to break off the engagement with Pei Yanli and left the palace. Although my father is confused about important matters. But when it comes to small matters, he is not vague at all. As soon as I left, the imperial edict to cancel the engagement was sent to the Marquis of Huayan's mansion. When Pei Yanli came with the imperial edict, I was drinking apricot blossom wine brewed by my fourth sister with her. I saw Pei Yanli from a distance. She said, "You guys chat. Don't look at anything inappropriate, I won't listen." He turned around and entered the side hall separated by a wall. But Pei Yanli was completely unaware of this. After entering the room, he said in a cold voice, "Princess, let's talk. I got slapped yesterday." Today his expression was calm. It returned to its former cold and indifferent state. "I'm in a good mood. I didn't care about his rudeness and just raised my chin. What? He threw the imperial edict over to me, frowned, and asked, "Why did you have to do it so drastically? Do you know how people will spread the news of your making such a fuss today?" I didn't care much and pushed the imperial edict aside. What else can you say? Say I'm arrogant and domineering and don't know etiquette. You can't possibly say that you're secretly in love with Meng Wantang while you're engaged to me, right? When it comes to Meng Wantang, his emotions finally fluctuate. I know you believed those rumors before you returned to Beijing, but there is nothing wrong between me and Miss Meng. You don't have to be suspicious or jealous.
He paused.
He seemed to be choosing his words carefully and softened his tone. He looked like a man who understood the big picture. She is a concubine's daughter, thrown into the manor by her stepmother and tortured for more than 10 years. Because of your trouble today, the Meng family is going to send her back to the manor. She is a living person after all. You are so aggressive. Aren't you trying to drive her into a desperate situation? I forced her? I feel like laughing. I didn't mention her at all in front of the palace today. Why was she sent to the farm by her stepmother? That's her Meng family's affair. What does it have to do with me? Besides, what does the Meng family's affairs have to do with you? You keep saying you didn't do anything wrong with her, but why are you here to defend her before she comes to me to cry? I never hold back when I speak. I don't know which sentence annoyed him. He suddenly clenched his fists, his expression showing a hint of anger. Yesterday you slandered me and her at the welcoming party, and today you are breaking off the engagement. Right now, rumors are rife. You're making such a fuss. Aren't you trying to confirm those rumors and put her and me in the spotlight? His eyes were filled with disappointment. Lu Shijin, if I had known you were such a person, I shouldn't have saved you when you were kidnapped by bandits during the hunt. 11. Indeed. 10 years ago, when we were hunting outside Beijing, he saved my life when my horse went mad and ran out of the enclosure and was captured by horse bandits. That year, the bandit ma thought I was an ordinary official's daughter and wanted to use me to extort money. After all, for the sake of the reputation of the women in the mansion, wealthy families would spend money to make a big deal out of a small matter. But they didn't expect that I was the eldest princess of the dynasty. After knowing my identity, he knew it was impossible to keep things quiet. In order to avoid getting into trouble, they set fire to the thatched hut and tried to burn me to death.
But I didn't die.
Only the thick smoke damaged my eyes. Before I was knocked unconscious, I vaguely saw someone rushing in. Later, they all said that it was Pei Yanli who saved me. Because of his life-saving grace, and because Lady Huan Marquis was interested in bringing them together. After I came of age, my father arranged a marriage between him and me as it was natural. But, Pei Yanli, was it really you who saved me back then? There was a crisp bang sound. I threw the wine glass in my hand at his feet. I thought since we have known each other for many years, I should at least give him some face. Since he doesn't want it, forget it. My eyes were blinded by the smoke, but I am not deaf. If it weren't for the friendship between your great-grandfather and my great-grandfather, who fought together to establish the country, I would have exposed you long ago. I spoke in a very light tone. She stood up and walked forward, standing in front of him with a faint smile. You could have just left it alone, but you came to confront me out of anger for your beloved. I respect you as a man, but you brought it up anyway. What? Do you think I'm blind? Or do you think I have a secret? One had gone far away. Did the fourth sister come out from the side hall? There were still some uneaten sunflower seeds in my hand. She looked curious, but didn't ask any more questions. Just asked a letter. I don't know how to tell my fourth sister about this. I knew she was just being playful to lighten the mood, and she wasn't really asking any questions, so I didn't expose her. Just poke her head open with one finger, ruthlessly crushing her words. Don't forget, besides you, I have 4 younger sisters. The youngest one is only 1.5 years old this year. She seemed broken. It's like putting myself together. He wiped away his non-existent tears pitifully and started eating sunflower seeds again. By the way, sister, those young masters from the noble families who were gossiping about you yesterday were beaten up at home for no apparent reason this morning. The daughters of the Li and Wang families were also in trouble. A snake plague broke out in their rooms out of nowhere. I heard they've been crying for a whole day. Tell me, who is so kind-hearted? Could it be some hero who sees injustice and stands up for justice? Listen to her guessing. A figure flashed across my mind, too fast to catch. I didn't care and just took a sip of the apricot blossom wine. Who knows if he is a knight or not? 13. The capital city seemed very lively that night. The daughter of the Li family knelt in the ancestral hall all night. Miss Wang copied the women's ring all night. The son of Minister Zhao was punished with 30 lashes as a family punishment. The crown prince was also confined to the Eastern Palace and was forced to copy the emperor's essays for a whole night. Meng Wantang was sent out of the city overnight by the mistress of the Meng family. But within a few days, she came back with great fanfare. Because the queen mother went out of the palace to worship Buddha, the horse was frightened and went mad, running to the edge of the cliff. When her life was hanging by a thread, Meng Wantang saved her. The Empress Dowager was pleased with the savior, so she personally brought her back to the capital and even asked for grace to confer her the title of Lord of Anyang County. He even specially invited her to the palace to attend his birthday banquet on May 16th. The Queen Mother doesn't like crowds. Not many people came on the birthday. Apart from my father and the concubines in the palace, there are only us princes and princesses and Marquis Huayan's family. When I arrived, Meng Wantang and Pei Yanli were already there. Even the crown prince who ordered the 1-month confinement was there. Several people surrounded the Queen Mother, talking and laughing. When they saw me coming, they all stopped talking. The Queen Mother glanced at me and said, "You're back. Not salty or bland. It seems like they're a loving family. And I'm just an insignificant outsider. I don't care either." He asked his maid to present the gift and then sat down next to his fourth sister. In a calm tone, he said, "Yes, I miss you. Can I come back to see you?" The Queen Mother could naturally tell that there was not much sincerity in these words. But she got used to it. He snorted coldly as usual, but when he saw his father and concubine Duan coming hand in hand, he smiled and ordered the meal to be served. The sound of silk and bamboo flutes, and the joy of dancing and music. The birthday banquet seemed harmonious on the surface, but in reality everyone had different thoughts. I don't like this situation. Halfway through the drink, I was looking for an excuse to leave. Suddenly I saw Meng Wantang holding a wine glass and walking towards me. "Your Highness." She stood still, with a perfect smile on her lips. "There was some misunderstanding between you and me at the welcoming party. I would like to take this opportunity to toast you today. I hope you can forgive me for any inconvenience I may have caused you before." In the remaining light, Pei Yanli's hand holding the wine paused slightly. The prince also stopped what he was doing and looked over here. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow.
Yep.
Finally, it's here. I thought they were going to be dumb today. 14. Meng Wantang's words were the same as last time. At first glance, it sounds flawless and without any mistakes. But the fine products are full of pitfalls. It was a misunderstanding, but forgiveness was offered. If I drink this glass of wine, wouldn't it be telling others that I was petty and deliberately made things difficult for them last time? Looking at Meng Wantang, who lowered her head and looked obedient, I curled my lips and smiled. "Sorry, I'm not feeling well and can't drink." Hearing this, she was slightly stunned. His eyes dropped to the wine glass in my hand, and his expression suddenly looked aggrieved. "But isn't your Highness drinking?" No answer for her. I dumped the drink behind me and put down the empty cup. "Oh, you can't drink it now." This blatant action made her eyes widen suddenly. There was a flash of ferocity in her eyes. But in the blink of an eye, she became pitiful again. "As expected, your Highness is still blaming me." She is very good at crying as soon as she says so. Big tears fell, instantly attracting everyone's attention. The Queen Mother frowned, looking distressed. "Why are you crying, Tanga? Who bullied you?" The silk music also stopped abruptly. In the blink of an eye, you could hear a pin drop on the field. Meng Wantang hurriedly explained, "Queen Mother, no one bullied me. I just got sand in my eyes." Having said that, But she quickly glanced at me, her expression flustered, and she choked up, trying to hide her sobs but unable to. He looked so aggrieved and pitiful. As expected, the Queen Mother was furious. Lu Shijin, today is my birthday. Tanger is my distinguished guest, and he saved my life. How dare you bully her in public? Don't you think I'm serious? A well-built stage will never lack actors to perform. The prince answered almost immediately. What is there that you are afraid of, sister? Grandmother, you don't know that a few days ago, my sister not only scolded the children of important officials, but also suppressed the son of Marquis Huayan and broke off the engagement with great fanfare. She also instigated my father to depose me, the crown prince. As soon as the words "depose the crown prince" came out, the place became boiling. The concubines looked at each other. The prince's mother, concubine Duan, also widened her eyes in disbelief. Your Majesty, is this true? The emperor hasn't spoken yet. The Queen Mother picked up the teacup at hand and threw it at me. But she is old and powerless. The teacup fell to the ground before it flew to me. So she could only slam the table and point her finger at my nose. What a bunch of crap. Emperor, take a good look. This is the good daughter of that bastard. She's just like her mother, vulgar and lawless. 15. My mother was my father's first wife whom he married when he was young. At that time, before her father ascended the throne, the Empress Dowager disliked her for her humble background as a female doctor and would often scold her for her rude behavior. She even ignored her father's wishes and forced him to marry the crown prince's mother, her niece. She was determined to make her niece the legitimate wife. Unfortunately, even though my mother passed away, my father still left the throne vacant and never compromised. As a result, the Queen Mother became more and more dissatisfied with me and always regarded me as a thorn in her side. It is clear that today is a grand banquet. I don't care either. Old lady, you keep calling me vulgar and scumbag. Such ugly words are hard to use, not to mention my mother. Even those country women can't bring themselves to curse me. Look at her face. She is choking and her face is turning red, as if she is about to retort. I sighed again and interrupted her deliberately. Alas, you favor whoever you see crying, and you believe whoever complains first. If you are really so foolish, I have no excuse. How about this? Just assume that what they said is true. If you want to stand up for them, then punish me, whether it's with needles or torture. If you still can't vent your anger, then you can cut me into pieces or execute me slowly. Once I die, this position will be vacated, and your beloved benefactor will no longer have to suffer the humiliation of being a county lord. You can just make her a princess to fulfill my filial duty in front of you. Isn't that the best of both worlds? I have finished speaking. Where can the Queen Mother find the words to say? Her face turned livid, her chest heaving violently, and she pointed at me. You? Looking at this state, I was really worried that she would pass out. Others are afraid too. A group of people surrounded her, coaxing her and blaming me at the same time. Your Majesty, please don't let your anger get you in trouble. How can you be so disrespectful to grandmother? Your Majesty, look at Jean. The Queen Mother finally found an excuse after being appeased. Good one. You are disrespectful to your elders and sharp-tongued. Don't think I dare not use torture. Someone come. That's enough. The Emperor's father roared, interrupting the Empress Dowager again. It also made the field quiet for a moment. It's just a birthday party, what's going on? With a cold face, he looked around at everyone present. When his eyes fell on me, his tone softened a little. Jeaner, you're not feeling well. Go back and rest first. The capital has been in a mess these days, so if you have nothing else to do, just stay in a mansion, don't go anywhere and don't see anyone. He apparently put me on lockdown. But in reality, I don't allow anyone to cause trouble to me. Since I understood the meaning, the Queen Mother and her followers would naturally understand it as well. The Queen Mother couldn't believe it. Emperor, how can you be so partial? The father snorted coldly. Mother, aren't you partial? These words made the Queen Mother feel like she had something stuck in her throat. Because she is really biased. Her father had 2 sons and 6 daughters. She only showed her good face to the crown prince, who was of Qi family blood. What happens next at this party is no longer my business. I stood up and bowed to my father, then turned around and was about to leave. However, when passing Meng Wantang, his steps stopped again. I probably didn't expect that such a big battle, which was about to break out, would be averted by just 2 casual words from my father. Meng Wantang couldn't hide her resentful look, and she stared at me with a somewhat fierce look. I don't mind either. He smiled, patted her shoulder, and whispered in her ear, "Ms. Meng, you are not yet good enough at setting up a stage. You should learn from those 2. I signaled her with my eyes to look at the Queen Mother and concubine Duan. After all, 13 years ago, the drama between these 2 not only forced my mother to have a miscarriage. She was depressed and bedridden for the next year, and died at such a young age.
16.
The 4th sister did not stay long for this birthday banquet. As soon as I took a step forward, she followed me out. "Sister, you look quite handsome today." With a, "Oh," she turned the mountain road into an 18-bend path. His eyes were sparkling, and he seemed even more excited than I was. He raised his eyebrows and squeezed his eyes at me, regardless of whether I agreed or not. "Sister, don't go to sleep tonight. I'll take you to see a big show." She said she would take me to see a play. The way night comes is very special. Like a thief, he jumped down from the roof in his nightgown. She's not the only one. I saw Yi Mingzhou, who I had met once at the welcoming party, and he was also wearing a nightgown.
I was very surprised.
"What's going on?" The 4th sister patted her chest and said, "My new little brother. He will be your human mount tonight." I don't know which word I can't hear. Yi Mingzhou, whose ears were originally the only ones red, suddenly had a whole face that turned red. His body stiffened and he nodded heavily. "Yes. Look at the sky, the earth, and the roof, but don't look at me. The combination of these 2 people is strange, no matter how you look at it." The 4th sister didn't explain much. He urged me to change into my nightgown, then asked Yi Mingzhou to carry me on his back and leap onto the roof. I never knew that my 4th sister had such strong skills. The deserted streets late at night were occasionally filled with patrolling imperial guards and night watchmen. In order to avoid people, she flew and jumped in the alleys and on the rooftops, her movements looking lighter than a swallow. On the other hand, Yi Mingzhou, who was carrying me, had unsteady breathing and hurried steps. He sprained his ankle again and nearly fell off the roof. I couldn't help it, frowned and whispered, "Young General Yi, what is this hot potato of mine?" The man paused. "Your Highness, why do you say that?" His voice was tense, and the muscles in his back were so tense that it hurt. "I don't have time to worry about these details." I raised my eyebrows. "Your feet are so unsteady. I thought you wanted to fall to death." Yi Mingzhou stopped talking, but the hands that were hugging my knees became a little stiffer. The night breeze is cool, but through the cloth the person underneath felt frighteningly hot. Just at this moment, the 4th sister stopped. She pointed to a roof not far away and asked them to speak quietly and be careful. Then he lowered his body, avoided the guards in the courtyard, and jumped lightly onto the roof. At the critical moment, Yi Mingzhou finally did not make any mistakes and sent me over easily. Under the lifted tiles was a spacious room. The voices of the 2 people talking in the room sounded familiar. "Tanga, you said that Lu Shijin's reputation would be ruined and that the Queen Mother would kill him, but given the situation today, how can I believe you?" The woman's soft and boneless hands climbed up the man's back. "Pei Lang, don't be anxious. It is written in the Book of Heaven that Lu Shijin will definitely die, and you will definitely take the throne of the emperor. Look, it said that I am the daughter of destiny, born with a phoenix destiny, and can turn things around. Isn't it that I have become the county lord and returned to the capital in glory?" Tanger. Pei Lang. 2 people having a secret meeting in the house. If not Meng Wantang and Pei Yanli, who else could it be? 17. Pei Yanli and Meng Wantang didn't know that there were 3 pairs of ears on the roof at this moment. They were discussing recklessly how to seize the Yuan dynasty. Meng Wantang, in particular, made bold statements. The emperor is incompetent, the crown prince is incompetent, the chief family's relatives are in power, and there are many termites in the court. When the Western Rome go to war, the Yuan loses 3 cities in a row, the eldest prince dies in battle, the emperor becomes ill and bedridden, and the prince ascends the throne. You can then openly revolt with the evidence of the chief family's greed for weapons. Anyway, the 3 cities are about to be lost, and the chief family is also responsible. Pei Yanli sighed. That's easy to say, but I don't know how long I have to wait. It will be soon. It is written in the heavenly book that 2 months after Lu Shijin's death, the war will break out in the Western Rhone. Pei Lang, just wait. They were talking to each other. I know every word. But when they're strung together into sentences and heard, every word is incomprehensible. It wasn't until I returned to the mansion along the same route that I finally understood something. No wonder. I said that Meng Wantang and I had no grudges against each other. So why did she target me in every way as soon as I returned to Beijing? I thought she was jealous of my engagement with Pei Yanli, but I didn't expect they were waiting for me to die for the throne. The heavenly book? Interesting. After figuring it out, I felt like laughing. On the other hand, the 4th sister. He no longer had the enthusiasm he had when he took me to the theater. He stood in the corner, holding his clothes, like a quail without a mouth. Both pitiful and lovable. She looked like she was hiding something from me. And not small. I narrowed my eyes and beckoned her to come over. 4th sister, don't you have anything to say? Like, how do you know where they were having their secret meeting today? Hearing this, she was stunned. After hesitating for a while, he made up his mind, as if ready to die bravely. Because the heavenly book that Meng Wantang mentioned was written by me. Sister, you may not believe this, but this world is actually a book, and the heroine in the book is not Meng Wantang, but me. 18. My 4th sister said that the world I have lived in for nearly 20 years is just a book in her world. She came from a book and was originally the heroine in the book. At the age of 5, he would sneak out of the palace through a dog hole and be kidnapped by a trafficker. It was not until I left the capital to recuperate in the south of the Yangtze River that Pei Yanli brought her back to the capital as a substitute because she looked somewhat like me. She also said that the experience of being protected by the crown prince and Pei Yanli, saving the queen mother and being made a county lord, was what she should have experienced. And I am the vicious female supporting character in the book. He would suffer the consequences after targeting her again and again, and was eventually killed by the protective Empress Dowager, who poured him a pot of poison. The heavenly book that Meng Wantang mentioned is the record of major events and time nodes that I have recorded since I came here. For example, when did you leave the capital? When did I meet Pei Yanli? When did the Queen Mother get into danger? And when did the Western Rhone send out troops? And when did Pei Yanli become emperor? I was afraid of forgetting, so I even wrote down a lot of recipes, waiting to make some beauty and food when I grow up to make some money. She didn't say it in a very obscure way. I soon understood. Although it is incredible, like the Arabian Nights. But when it comes to the 4th sister, it seems reasonable. But why is the thing you wrote in Meng Wantang's hands? She gets angry when she talks about this. When I was 5 years old, I slipped out of the palace through a dog hole and buried the notebook. But somehow that Meng guy was dug out, and he deliberately followed the plot and imitated you in every way. Don't you think it's infuriating? I don't feel angry, just a little confused. According to what you said, the heroine of these plots should be you, and you should marry Pei Yanli and become the queen. Why don't you leave? Hearing this, she froze. Suddenly, he burst into tears. I am a freshly graduated college student who has endured 4 years of hardship in the morning class. I don't want to endure another 2 years of hardship of begging. I can be a princess and marry 8 men. Why should I marry a man and compete with other women? The point is, the scheming Pei Yanli is not my type at all. I only like younger guys who sweetly call me sister. I seem to understand a little. But I don't quite understand. But my 4th sister didn't give me a chance to think about it carefully. She cried with tears and snot. He didn't even use his own clothes to wipe it. He just grabbed my sleeve, looking so pitiful. Sister, your death is a very important time point. 2 months after your death, Heroine will suddenly start a war. Although the actual situation is a little different from the bandage, it is still basically based on the original story. What should I do? I don't want you to be killed by the Queen Mother. Whoa. 19. She buried her head in my chest, and her crying gave me a headache.
Can't be pulled away.
I gave up. Rubbing my aching forehead, I tapped the table with one hand. After thinking for a while, he told her, "Go, let your little brother in." The fourth sister raised her head with red cheeks. "I don't understand, but I do it." Yi Mingzhou, dressed in black, came in with a frown on his face. I don't know if it was because I overheard the conversation between Pei Yanli and Meng Wantang. At this moment, his expression was somewhat serious. I ordered expressionlessly, "Kneel down." Without any hesitation, he knelt down with a plop. He is an obedient person. I just don't know, can it be used? Thinking of this, I put away my surprise, stood up, walked in front of him, and lifted his chin from above. There is one thing that may deceive the emperor and cost you your life, but it can save the people of the 3 cities of the Great Yuan dynasty. Do you dare to do it? This action carries with it a certain degree of scrutiny and oppression. Many arrogant people, especially men, will subconsciously resist and dodge. But Yi Mingzhou didn't. Not only did he not hesitate at all, his cheeks even blushed. There were even flashes of emotions in his deep eyes that I couldn't understand. "I am willing. As long as your highness commands, I am willing to do anything, even if it means climbing mountains of swords or diving into seas of fire." Meet his hot and excited eyes. I was slightly stunned. The next moment, she couldn't help but curl her lips. "In that case, don't they want me to die? Well, I'll die once for them to see."
20.
I am dead. The cause of death was the same as in the heavenly book. He drank a glass of wine given by the Queen Mother. The wine was obtained by the fourth sister in the Queen Mother's palace on the day of Qian Sun Festival when she said, "Sister is the only one who doesn't have this libation." If people knew about it, they would think that grandmother doesn't want you to live a long and healthy life. Qian Shun drinks the libation wine, which means peace and success. This custom has always existed in the Yuan dynasty. There is naturally no poison in the wine. It's just that I took a drug that made me fake my death, so it was just a false impression. A white banner was hung in the princess's mansion. There is the fourth sister's superb acting skills and her grief-stricken cries. No one doubted me. On the night of the burial, Yi Mingzhou, who should have left the capital long ago, successfully dug me out of the coffin. Outside the city, there is a yard that my mother secretly bought in her early years. After settling me down, Yi Mingzhou left the capital without stopping. I also sent a secret letter to Menghui City, to my eldest brother who had been stationed in Shirong for many years. My father was heartbroken because of my death. The Queen Mother did not admit that she was the one who did it, but the emperor still fell out with her. But I probably want to give her and the prince another chance. My father did not mention the case of the fall of Chunyang City. Instead, they used the recent revelation that concubine Duan's brother had forced women of good families into prostitution and occupied farmland as their starting point. But the chief family's in-laws were not only unrepentant. In order to shirk responsibility, he made random accusations and tried to shift the blame to others. Therefore, for the past 2 months, everyone in Beijing has been in danger. 2 months later, a battle report was sent urgently from the border 800 miles away. Then came the second one, the third one. Each letter read, "The Western Rome attacked, and the city gates were lost." The last letter contained the news that the eldest prince had fought desperately against the Western Rome army, but was chopped to death by random swords. 21. My father is ill. Although he was indecisive, he was not a perfect emperor. But he is really a good father. At the morning court, he heard the news that his elder brother had died in battle. He was so grief-stricken and angry that he fainted on the spot. He remained in bed unconscious for half a month and showed no signs of waking up. Without the emperor's presence, the court was in chaos. At the instruction of the Queen Mother, ministers headed by the chief family, under the banner of "The country cannot be without a ruler for a day," wrote a letter to the emperor asking the prince to ascend the throne. The prince readily agreed. But on the day he ascended the throne, he was captured by Pei Yanli and his imperial guards before he could sit on the throne. Immediately afterwards, a letter, rebuking the prince, quickly spread from the palace to the public. I have read this letter, rebuking the prince. It listed in great detail the crimes of the crown prince, the chief family, and more than a dozen ministers in the court who had been greedy for military equipment, leading to the fall of Chunyang City 3 years ago, the loss of 3 cities at the border, and the death of the eldest prince in battle. Pei Yanli started his campaign with a good reputation. The crown prince was imprisoned in the clan residence, and the empress dowager and concubine Duan were placed under house arrest. All the ministers involved in the case mentioned in the letter to rebuke the prince were captured and imprisoned by him at lightning speed. For the next few days, he stayed indoors. He seemed to be indifferent to power, honest and upright, and devoted to redressing grievances for the people. This trend is not surprising to me. I also guessed that he would definitely have the next move. Sure enough, on the 3rd day of the prince's imprisonment, Qin Tianjian suddenly announced that the purple star was bright and a wise ruler was born. On the 2nd day, Prime Minister Meng knelt for a long time in the Marquis Huayan's mansion. It's still the same old saying, "A country cannot be without a ruler for a day." He asked Pei Yanli to ascend the throne on the grounds that Pei's grandfather had fought together with Taizu to establish the country and that the Pei family was fully qualified to preside over the overall situation. The ministers in the court also echoed, "Very fast indeed." After pretending to refuse several times, Pei Yanli set the time for his ascension to the throne with an embarrassed look on his face. 3 days later, he was even afraid that others didn't know that it was Meng Xiang who helped him seize the throne, so he also decided on the candidate for queen, Meng Wantang. It's just that I'm going to disappoint him, because just as he was wearing the yellow robe and holding Meng Wantang's hand as he walked towards the dragon throne, a loud cry of "The Emperor has awakened" interrupted his coronation ceremony. "What are you arguing about? Someone, get this rude guy out of here." Meng Xiang frowned and gave the order harshly. The young eunuch was crying and snotting. Can't tell whether it's sad or happy. But he still risked his life to make his point clear. "The late emperor, no, it's Emperor Jieyuan, he's awake." The emperor woke up. Pei Yanli and the Meng family father and daughter were shocked. But now, there is no turning back. Fortunately, the imperial guards are in hand and the palace is under control. Now, all he could do was to bite the bullet and say, "The ceremony will continue." Pei Yanli gritted his teeth and sat on the dragon throne. "This was exactly what I saw when my father and I came here." Pei Yanli, wearing a dragon robe, and Meng Wantang, dressed in gorgeous attire, sat high in the hall. "Ministers, you look at me and I look at you." 1/3 of the ministers followed Prime Minister Meng and knelt down, shouting, "Long live the emperor and 1,000 years for the queen." This scene is more exciting than any drama I have ever seen. I couldn't help laughing out loud. Yo, the dragon robe and phoenix robe both fit me well. You must have prepared them for a long time, right? 22.
It's not just Pei Yanli.
The moment I spoke, everyone looked at me with an expression as if they had seen a ghost. It was more shocking than seeing his father full of energy and not even a trace of illness. Of course, the most excited person was Meng Wantang. "Lu Shijin, you're not dead." She looked incredulous and her scream almost broke. Pei Yanli is smarter than her. He didn't ask, his eyes moving back and forth between me and my father. "You guys pretended to be sick and died on purpose?" I didn't answer. It was his father who answered him. "Facing illness? If I hadn't gotten sick this time, I wouldn't have known that you all had such evil intentions."
Why?
"The dragon chair is so comfortable. You want me to come and invite you personally?" My father is majestic without being angry. But Pei Yanli did not move. In fact, as long as he comes down, there is still a way out. After all, he only exposed the chief family and the prince. In the eyes of the world, his ascension to the throne was an act of helplessness on his part, following repeated requests from Prime Minister Meng and his ministers. But now that it has come to this, how can he accept this? Meng Wantang and Meng Xiang were also unwilling to accept this. Pei Lang, at this point, we cannot retreat. If we retreat, we will only end up dead. That's right. The crown prince has lost his moral integrity, and the eldest prince is dead. Now the imperial guards and the palace are under our control. As long as we don't retreat today, how will it be written in the history books in the future? Isn't it us who have the final say? Seeing this situation, what else could the other ignorant ministers not understand? There is no such thing as Ziweixing, Pei Yanli, Meng Diyu, and you guys invented it. The word rebellion has not yet been finished. The minister's throat had been cut. When a person dies, rebellion has become a nail in the coffin. Pei Yanli didn't even think twice and ordered in a deep voice, "Someone come." The assassin has entered the palace and abducted Emperor Jiyuan. Capture him immediately, regardless of death or injury. Upon hearing the noise, the imperial guards rushed out and surrounded my father and me. The sharp sword was placed at the throat. Just a little effort, and we would be dead. But my father and I were not afraid at all. Indeed, the victor has the final say on what is written in history books. But who said you guys are going to win today? I curled my lips and smiled provocatively. Stimulated by my smile, Meng Wantang was the first one to lose his temper. What's the meaning? It means that I have faked my death. How can the Shirong raid, the loss of 3 border cities, and the death of my eldest brother in battle, which are exactly the same as what is written in the heavenly book, be true? The words heavenly book made Meng Wantang and Pei Yanli's expressions change drastically. How do you know about the Book of Heaven? Impossible. My people sent back a message saying that your brother is dead. They both spoke at the same time. The concerns are completely different. I didn't answer. With 2 fingers, he lightly pushed away the sword on his neck. Lips curled into a smile. Why don't you ask me how I got into the palace? 23. A mouthful of rumors. The Western Rong's raid was a war, and our army's raid was also a war. The eldest brother's acting skills are just as good as the 4th sister's. I just wrote a letter to explain the whole story, and he successfully deceived Pei Yanli's eyes and ears. The sky is high and the road is long. What I am betting on is that Pei Yanli and Meng Wantang blindly believe in the heavenly book and will not verify it again and again. It is also a bet that their attention is on the court and Mingshou City. No time to pay attention to the dragon army in the east. This time, it was Godong who performed the great deed. Pei Yanli and his men thought that the entire palace was under their control. Little did they know that a small team of the Long Shao army, which had secretly returned to the capital, had already sneaked into the palace through the dog hole that only the 4th sister knew about. This sword pushes away. The swords of the rest of the imperial guards also changed direction. In the blink of an eye, the thief in the hall was controlled. The situation reversed instantly. Pei Yanli and Meng Wantang finally discovered Yi Mingzhou, who was wearing the clothes of the imperial guards. Dragon camp? You actually transferred the dragon camp back? How could I have such great ability? It was Yi Mingzhou who stole General Qin's tiger talisman and secretly brought it back. But I didn't explain and looked up at the sky. Let me calculate. By this time, 4th sister should have led people to open the palace gates, and the 10,000 imperial guards who obeyed your orders should have surrendered. As if to confirm my words, the 4th sister jumped in happily. Sister, it's done outside. See the situation inside the palace. She nodded affirmatively. Not bad. You guys are pretty quick. The expressions of Pei Yanli and the Meng father and daughter are very interesting. Pei Yanli was especially dissatisfied. On what basis? My great ancestor fought together with your Lu family to establish the country. Why do you, the Lu family, sit on the throne? Meng Wantang couldn't believe that she was defeated so easily. He was going crazy and trying to break free from the restraints. Impossible. I am the daughter of destiny. From today on, I should be the queen, second only to the emperor and above all others. Lu Shijin, it's you. You're the one who destroyed me. There was a soft tisk in her ear, and the fourth sister frowned. No, sister. You're into the role, right? Pick up a notebook and follow the instructions. You are the daughter of destiny. Then what am I? The writer of the book. The mother of destiny. And you. She turned and looked at Pei Yanli with a sincere look. You may not know that your great ancestor was a renunciation, and none of you descendants are his biological children. It seemed as if Pei Yanli and Meng Wantang would take a lifetime to digest these few short sentences. After a long time, Pei Yanli regained his voice and stared at me. You know everything? So? Why didn't you stop me earlier? Why didn't you stop him earlier? Naturally, if I depose the crown prince and deal with the chief family, I might be scolded and my brothers and sisters might be crippled. Wait until he exposes the chief family corruption case, then I will deal with him, and it will be legitimate. Pei Yanli is not stupid. When he saw the smile on my lips, he immediately understood the secret. He gritted his teeth and said, "We have known each other for more than 10 years, and I didn't know you had such courage and means." I don't know whether this sentence is an exclamation or a mockery. Obviously, he is not reconciled, because just as he was being escorted away at knife point and passed me by, he suddenly jumped up, broke free from the restraints, snatched the knife from the other person, and stabbed me. In a split second, I heard my fourth sister and Yimingzhou screaming, "Be careful, sister. Your Highness, be careful."
24.
I'm not the one who should be careful. It was Pei Yanli. I am sick, but I am not weak. Practicing martial arts can improve your health. This is something I have known since I was a child. But others don't know. Pei Yanli was particularly shocked after Yimingzhou snatched away his long sword. His eyes widened suddenly, and he looked at his chest in disbelief. There, a dagger was stuck. The dagger was plain and could cut iron like mud, with only a translucent sapphire inlaid on the handle. How is it possible? How is that impossible? When I came out of the fire at the age of 9, I swore that I would never let anyone else take my life. My voice is quite loud. Unfortunately, he can't hear. He is dead. Die with eyes open. After seeing his body fall to the ground, the Meng family father and daughter finally became obedient. They dared not say a word and allowed themselves to be taken to prison. Until everyone has gone away and everything has settled. My father dismissed everyone and only kept me. Faking death, mobilizing troops without permission, drugging me. Tell me, is there anything else you dare not do? You can see that he is very angry this time. His beard was shaking. But I am not afraid. I shrugged and said, "There are many things I dare not do, such as actually dying." How dare you talk back? I'm lying there. Aren't you afraid they will really kill me?
25.
My father, in a rage, picked up the inkstone next to him and threw it at me. I didn't dodge or evade, and the inkstone passed me perfectly. Looking back at the inkstone on the door panel, I felt helpless. You don't want to really hit me, but you insist on putting on such a show. Isn't this a waste? I sighed. He picked up the broken inkstone again. They don't dare to kill you. If they kill you, how can Pei Yanli be a wise ruler? He wants to secure his position. At most, they can give you some chronic poison and let you lie there for half a year before dying. Seeing that he was about to get angry again, I hurried to comfort him. Don't worry, I asked my fourth sister to change your medicine. What you drank was the tonic my mother prepared for you. I only added a sleeping pill, so it has no side effects. My father still looks very ugly. Is this what I am angry about? I am angry because you threatened to kill yourself, forcing me to deal with the chief family and abandon the prince. Speaking of the prince and the chief family, I also get angry. As a crown prince, he does not know right from wrong and tolerates corruption by his mother's family and foreign ministers. Should such a crown prince not be deposed and kept alive so that the whole world can be ruled by the same clan? Father, let me say this, but you have failed miserably as an emperor. They are obviously your imperial guards, but they risk their lives for others. They are obviously your subjects, but they are devoted to supporting others. Can you pat your chest and say that today's situation is not caused by your blind tolerance? I paused deliberately and snorted coldly. Father, you are the emperor, not just the son of the Empress Dowager or the father of the Crown Prince. You are still the heaven of the people of the Yuan dynasty, and you are their justice. If you are not ruthless when you should be, how can you be worthy of those people who died in vain? For so many years, you have tolerated the Qi family. My mother has lost her life, and the lives of the people in the city have been lost in vain. Now you still want to tolerate these termites? Do you think there are not enough holes in your kingdom? These words seemed to have hit the sore spot for my father. He was stunned, but no longer angry. His eyes just described my features, as if he was looking at someone else through me. After a long while, he finally sighed. Yes, I am a failure as an emperor. I am not as clear-sighted as you. As soon as he said this, he seemed to have aged 10 years. But I know that he has finally made up his mind. Qi Jia, Meng Xiang, Huayan Ho, corrupt officials, rebellious courtiers. Now he won't let anyone go. At this moment, I feel like laughing. Sincerely. Me? I don't understand. You know, I'm just seeking revenge. 26. I chatted with my father for a long time. When I came out of the temple, it was already getting dark. As the sun sets, large patches of fiery clouds dye the palace red. In the red room, two figures, one standing and one sitting, were waiting quietly at the door. Hearing the footsteps, the fourth sister suddenly jumped up and trotted over. Sister, did father do anything to you? There's something adorable about her nervousness. I couldn't help but pinch her chubby cheeks. What can you do to me? Kill me? Hearing that I could still make a joke, she felt relieved and breathed a sigh of relief. Behind him, Yi Mingzhou, whose muscles had been tense, gradually relaxed. It was only then that I noticed a vicious wound running along his wrist. I recall the time when Pei Yanli tried to kill me, and he grabbed the knife. I let out a soft tisk. My brows wrinkled unconsciously. You piece of shit, didn't you see I had a dagger? Didn't you know how to hide? He stammered. See, I saw it. In the last rays of the setting sun, the man lowered his head and dared not look at me. But his cheeks and ears turned red instantly. This scene brought back a flash of images to my mind. I immediately remembered why he looked familiar. That year I was kidnapped by bandits and locked up in a thatched hut. There was a child who was about my age, with a bruised face and nose, who was hiding in the crack of the door and looking at me.
What did I say then?
That's right. I seemed to have scolded someone. They were scolded as horse bandits who had hands and feet, but did not know how to fight and only knew how to rob others. Scold him for hanging out with bandits at such a young age, saying that if he had the energy, he might as well go and gain military merit. That year, many young men and ladies of my age in the capital had been made to cry by me. But the child didn't cry. But her face was flushed, and her eyes were sparkling. So, he is that kid? Sister, what are your plans next? My fourth sister suddenly spoke up, interrupting my thoughts. I looked away, not intending to hide it from her. Let's go to Minghua City. I'm afraid the Shirong will attack again. I want to see my eldest brother. Hugging someone and acting coquettishly is the fourth sister's signature move when asking for help. Sister, will you take me with you? Take care of me. I can sing and tell stories. I am such a lovely little sister. You will not suffer any loss if you take care of me. Hearing this, Yi Mingzhou's eyes lit up. He also said, Your Highness, can you take me with you? Take you? Why bring you? We know each other well. I raised my eyebrows, looking suspicious. Seeing the injury on his wrist, she couldn't help but frown. Hurry up and get it bandaged. It's very annoying to look at. Yi Mingzhou didn't move. He looked at me with a suddenly fiery gaze, as if someone had pressed his acupoints. His expression was also dazed. He looked a little strange. The fourth sister at the side moved her hair and suddenly looked down. I don't know what he saw, but he suddenly jumped up and covered my eyes with his hands. She squealed like a mouse whose tail was stepped on.
Ah.
Sis, Don't scold him. You pervert. You made him hard with your scolding. There were hurried footsteps, and he ran away in panic. My fourth sister, please shut up. My head hurts. I feel like my old illness is coming back. I have a hunch. Meng Wantang and his group will not have a peaceful life any longer.